be productive.
Yeah. So when's Spin opening?
Probably, I want to say maybe August.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I appreciate you doing this. I know I didn't really explain that much about it, but I just heard your story a little bit, a few other on the tables video movie rather, and I really enjoyed that. And I think I saw you in the James with that James Altucher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you, I would just like to, I mean, unless you want to start with what's going on, a little bit about with the whole protests and everything, if you want to talk about that, or you rather.
No, whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'd like to hear about a little bit more. Yeah, tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how you feel that influenced your life and how how you got into ping pong.
All right. So I grew up in Brooklyn,
What part of
in
Brooklyn?
Marlboro Projects.
Okay.
The Marlboro Projects is projects that's in between Bensonhurst and Coney Island.
Okay. Cool.
So I grew up there. Grew up with kind of like really hard domestic violence, and before I was like 13, I was already in a gang. 12 years old, 11. You know, by 13, I already had owned already 6 guns. So I had in possession 6 guns at 13. Yeah, I was a pretty crazy kid. And then all the way up to 19, you know, I was doing a lot of just crazy stuff. I was always pretty smart about what I've done. So I didn't, luckily, I never had to go or had to be that person that had like a lengthy criminal record, right? Because I was always really smart to not get caught.
But really, with all those guns, you never
No,
really?
I
Wow,
mean,
that's pretty impressive.
there's been cases where I did get caught, but being a juvenile is a little different.
Right.
And yeah, so I was always lucky. I mean, that's been pretty much. I was always lucky to get out of stuff and to not get the full effect.
Well, I would like a little bit chime in a little bit there. I don't know if it's all about luck. I mean, I because I've worked doing counseling with people in probation, and I think just by knowing you a little bit, I would think there's part of it is about that you're kind of a likable guy, and I think that probably played a role in it. It's not just about luck. I mean, luck.
That did, because I actually, I mean, when you mentioned that, I remember it just put a little memory in my head. Like, wow, I remember I had to be like maybe 17, I think, and I remember I had 2 cases. I had 2 cases in criminal court. One was definitely more lines of some kind of loss. I remember one had to do with credit card stuff.
Right.
It was credit card fraud. And the other one had to do with what's the word? I actually beat the mess out of someone pretty badly.
Okay.
And so I remember I didn't have money at the time, so they gave me a legal aid lawyer. And normally legal aid lawyers, if you get them, they kind of really don't care so much, right? Because you know they get all these caseloads and you don't know them. They don't know you. They have a few minutes to meet you and try to make a case. And so I got this legal aid lawyer and we hit it on really good. And this dude actually was going way more than he had to.
Right.
And he actually got one case reduced and the other one dismissed. So those are kind of like lucky things that I was talking about.
But that's what I'm saying. It wasn't all about luck because he vibed with you, and you know it wasn't just.
Yeah, he was vibing.
But okay. So what? How old were you when you picked up ping pong or table tennis?
So when I started to play, I was actually in the middle of 18 and 19. And so the way that happened was I was always an athlete in school.
Right.
And I tried to play every sport in school because that would keep me away from being home. So the way I would stay away from the domestic violence was by playing sports and hanging out with my gang members. So that way, I the least amount of time I could spend home was really like the best thing for me. I did not. I never. I give you a quick little story.
Right.
I remember a time when I got arrested for that whole credit card thing, along with the other thing. I had got taken in, and then I went to see I went to see the judge, and they gave me bail. They actually gave me bail. It wasn't a whole lot, right? And so because of that, the next day I got sent to Rikers. So
wow.
and it was only Rikers for holding. I was staying in North Facility, so I got sent to Rikers for holding, and my mom or stepfather at the time, they were trying to bail me out, and I refused. Like I didn't want to go. Actually, being there was kind of like a vacation.
Wow.
Like being there. So when I was there, I remember it was the first time that I ever, because I've been arrested a couple of times, and you know, you go to the precinct, and you go to the bullpens, and then you see the judge, and maybe or not you're out the next day. But it was the first time I ever, you know, took that bus ride.
And how old were you then?
Ride. I think at this time I was probably, I remember I was 16 or 17, because I remember exactly, because they had me in North Facility, which technically they shouldn't have, because North Facility is holding for adults. So normally I should have went to juvenile,
right?
But somehow I wound up in North Facility, and that's more adults. And it was like a lot of these guys were like preaching to me, you know, you shouldn't be here and all this stuff. And yeah. So anyway, back to the table tennis thing. So I got into table tennis because I love sports. I didn't want to stay away. I want to stay from the house. I used to shoot pool on the side, and shooting pool was like my fun thing. I thought I was good. I actually stole an expensive pool stick, and I thought I was really good, but I wasn't. I got hustled for some money. Got angry because I had anger management issues back then, and I smashed the pool stick and broke it. And then I saw some Asian kids playing ping pong because they had ping pong in the pool hall.
Right.
And I asked the Asian kids, I was like, yo, I want to get a hit. But it wasn't like I really wanted to get a hit. It was me being a bully, because we had ping pong in my school, and I used to make fun of kids playing ping pong all the time. So I was like, I want to get a hit. It wasn't like I was asking. And it was like, and it went on. And the guy was like, oh man, do you play? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, there's this ping pong club in 50th Street and 11th Avenue that was in Manhattan. You should go check it out. And I was like, what? There's a club for this? You got to be kidding me, right? This is a joke. And so I eventually went down there. Nobody would play with me because I
wasn't where what's his name was, Marty Reisman.
No. This is actually after Marty Reisman. Like
okay.
I wasn't playing at that time. Yeah, but I heard about the club. But yeah, and you know, nobody would play with me. Like nobody, because they didn't know me, and they probably thought I was bad, which I probably was.
Yeah, but that was a part of the story that I was thinking about too, and I know how it is now after getting a little bit more into table tennis, how people are real snobby about it. If you're not as good with them, they won't play with you and all that whole kind of thing.
Yep. So I used to get angry because like I would ask people, yo, can I hit? And they'd be like, oh no, I'm tired, or my mother's coming, always something. And then they would be playing with someone else. And then eventually I started playing with this older guy. His name is George Wayne, and I would play with him, and he would kill me. And then, but it was only once in a while because he had other people to play with. And then one day this Israeli guy comes and he sees me, and you know, I could hit because I'm an athlete. I pick up stuff quick. And
it's not the guy Tal.
No. I didn't even know Tal then. Okay. Yeah. But he comes to me and he says, hey, do you have a partner? And I was like, no. And he goes, well, if you want, you know, I can play with you like 2-3 times a week, and I'll give you $20. And I was like, what? $20? You know, that's like a hustle. I was like, oh man, $20, this is great. So I was like, yeah, for sure. So, you know, I would hit with this guy, and we would play like 3 times a week. And then like we would talk a lot because I became comfortable with him. You know, plus he was giving me $20 to
Right.
play. So I was like, this is the easiest hustle in the world. And we would talk. I would mention about my gang and hanging out and doing all the crazy stuff. But for him, it was more like a TV show, right? Because if you never met anyone in that life, it's like TV. It's not real, you know? And so he just kind of took what I was saying and was like, yeah, oh, wow, that's you know, that's you got to be careful, you know? And then one day I went to the club and a gun fell on my back and he saw it. And so the look on his face was, I still remember it like it was yesterday, priceless. And then the first thing I thought was like, oh man, I just lost my $20. That's the only thing I thought about is I lost my $20 hustle. And then I had to get out. I was like, yo, I gotta go. Because, you know, now I know him, but, you know, he might call the police. You know, I don't know what he's gonna do in this situation. So I had to get out of that situation. And so I left right away. And he wound up calling me saying, hey, are we still gonna play? And I was like, yo, is this guy okay? Like, seriously? But it was $20 and I didn't have the money. I needed the money. So I was like, all right, you know, let's do it. And, you know, we played more. And then he had a house that was near Hunter Mountain. And
Oh, yeah,
his
I've been up to
family
Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah. So his family lived there, like in this house. And he brought me up there. And that was weird too, because I was like, all right, this guy just saw a gun fall in my bag and he's bringing me around his family to meet his family. And it was such a different environment than what I was used to. Like, this environment was really like, I want to say maybe on the strict kind of thing. Like, they didn't eat any sugar, no sweets, no TV. Like, it was crazy. I was like, why? You know, why is he bringing me? This is so weird. So then eventually he tells me, he goes, hey, I want to help you and I want to pay for you to go to Germany to learn ping pong. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I want to pay for you. And so that's how I actually started playing the sport. I mean, this guy paid everything. He paid for the school. I went to a sports school in Germany and lived there. And he paid for that.
Where about Germany was it?
It was in Hanover. So the first 4 months I stayed in Hanover at the school. So I lived with these kids and yeah, and that's how I started. That was like the beginning of the change of my life, was just being able to get out of my circle of where I was every day into something totally different, where people were trying to be, you know, like really nice to you because I was from America. So everyone's like, oh, you're American. Oh, wow, you're from New York. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And then for me, it was really weird because I wanted to be angry and I couldn't be angry because everyone was being nice. So like there's this term that they say, killing you with kindness.
Right, sure.
Like that's a real thing. That I don't think people can understand the real meaning of it unless you actually experience it. Because when you want to be angry and you just want to hate people, but everyone's being really, really nice to you, it's confusing because no one's giving you that fuel.
I just want to interrupt you for a little bit. Is any of your family from the Caribbean at all?
Oh, no, not at all.
Not at all. I don't know. I thought maybe. Anyway, but it was a random thing I wanted to share. I don't know if you know this. I came upon this that one of Bob Marley's mistresses was like the Jamaican table tennis champion.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I mentioned to some other people that Jamaica didn't know it, but I thought maybe you could have been part Jamaican or something. But
no.
Yeah, Kaimani Marley is his mom was apparently the Jamaican table tennis championship. I was trying to get some more. Yeah,
that's why there's that picture with him holding the ping
Marley.
pong
Yeah.
I was always wondering why that picture existed. Yeah. Now I know. Yeah, I actually have that picture in my house of him holding it.
Anyway, back to what you were saying about the killing with kindness, and where'd you go from Germany? Where was the next spot?
So I stayed in Hanover, stayed in the school. Eventually, it was overwhelming. Like people were just really, really nice, and eventually I started figuring out, why am I angry again? Like I'm not where I was. I'm in a totally different place. So then I started to be more accepting and became friends with these guys and stayed there for about 4 months. And then I went to another place in Germany for another 2 months. So the place that I went, what happened was the year before I went to learn. They had a U.S. Open in ping pong, and I had some interest in it. So I went to go see it. And then I heard about all these great players, and they were there. A lot of them were there. So I actually went up to them because I was never shy. And I'd be like, hey, you're the #1 player in the world? And I would just like go up to them, like confident, and talk to them. So it's almost like being at a basketball game and seeing, you know, LeBron James. Yo, LeBron, are you really that good? You know, and that's how I was. You know, I wasn't scared of these guys. And so one of the guys said, well, if you're ever in Germany, you should give us a call and we can show you what real table tennis is. And so I took that offer. So while I was there for 4 months, I gave one of my friends a call that I met named Thomas, and he brought me to—
Wait, what's his name, Thomas? He's German?
Yeah, Thomas Kiner.
Yeah, I've heard of him. I've never met him, but I know he comes down to the Broward Club.
Yeah.
I've heard,
So me and him, we traveled the whole world playing ping pong. Yeah. So he's the one that brought me to the professional clubs, and that's where I met, you know, Timo Boll.
Oh wow.
And a lot of these other guys, and I trained there for another 2 months, and then I returned back to U.S.
And how did you find yourself in the North Korea?
The North Korea thing, yeah. So once I finished doing that training, very shortly, I did a video game with Rockstar Games, and the world's first table tennis game ever. Even till today, it's still the world's first real table tennis game. Doesn't exist. I got sponsorship from them, so I was playing a lot of pro tours all over the world for U.S. team. So I was playing every major country. And then a few years after that, I saw there was a pro tour in North Korea. And I was like, wow, North Korea. Man, I really want to go to North Korea because Dennis Rodman had just came back from North Korea. Right? And then every year I want to try to do something really big. And I was like, that could be my big thing. Ping pong for peace. You know, go there, you know, try to really connect with the real North Koreans, not just the ones that they, you know, put in front of you. Right? So I saw the tournament on the ITTF, which is International Table Tennis Federation, and it said North Korea Pyongyang Open. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta go. So I called up the US team. I was like, hey, can you register me for this? And at first it was kind of like reluctant, but I made it known that I'm going. Like I wanted to go. There's no way I'm not gonna go. And so they registered me for the tournament. And then after that, it was just me in contact with the head of sports of North Korea, back and forth. So I had to go back to China because I was training in China also at that time. So I had to go back to China to get my visa. So I got the visa, and then that's how I got to North Korea.
And what was that experience like? How did what was the feeling like there when you got to North Korea?
It was interesting. Every step of the way, from getting the visa to getting the flight to being there, was always unsure. Like everything was unsure. Like for example, when I wanted to get my visa, right? This is a very funny story. I fly back to China. I call the guy, the contact number that they gave me, and as soon as I call, the guy goes, "Oh, Mr. Green," and I'm like, "How does this guy even know it's Mr. Green? Because this is a different SIM card. Anybody can be calling him, right?" So that was already like the first red flag. I was like, "All right, this is weird." So then the guy goes to me. He goes, "Can you please come to the North Korean embassy?" Because it was in Beijing. I was like, "All right, cool." So I have this one-wheel unicycle that I used to ride around. I got on the
I've seen you on that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So I rode, you know, from my hotel to the